Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about astrology and the death of legendary singer B.J. Thomas. Some of you may have heard that B.J. Thomas had recently succumbed to lung cancer. He was like 78 years old when he passed away. And I just, the first thing off, I want to offer my condolences and prayers to the close friends and family members of B.J. Thomas if they do happen to see this video. The thing about this is, I want to talk about some transits and natal placements that may have been tied in to his passing, but I want to just, there was something in his natal chart I just wanted to talk about basically. First is that I noticed that he's Sun in Leo, chakra, the sign of a performer. Um, he also has a Libra ascendant, and he did a lot of getting the attention seeking Leo energies blended in with singing. And I don't know if he ever acted or not, but it wouldn't surprise me if he did. This is a very good combination for that. And his sun does make, Leo does make a sextile aspect to his natal ascendant. His moon is in Gemini, so it tells me if you integrate that energy with his sun in Leo, Gemini, moon, Libra ascendant, well, perhaps this manifested in the sun in Leo wanting to, perform, gain some notoriety, exposure. And Gemini, of course, is variety, so it could have been through manifold, maybe singing like venues or singing styles or music genre, which Libra can be connected with music and singing. I would say it is associated with the arts. Now, the thing about this is him having the moon in Gemini, by itself, of course, can give some propensity towards some Gemini related physical issue. I mean, I have my moon in Gemini. It's in my first house in my natal chart, and I have extensive nerve damage to my hands and to my arms. And the thing about this is too, he also has Saturn in Gemini, and Saturn in Gemini can, Saturn can be connected with chronic debilitations. Gemini can be associated with the lungs, and when the transit Sun, it looks like for at least fairly close proximity to the natal Saturn. Well, that could be where the physical issues, might have really, as far as the lung cancer might have really been, more limiting and causing, those might have been given him more difficulty at this time, more so than usual. And sadly, I'm thinking too that could be an indicator with the sun, slowly, getting, at least getting ready to pass his natal Saturn. Maybe that's a symbolic of the life passing due to the chronic debilitation, which is, in his case, was having the lung cancer. And of course, Gemini can be associated with the lungs. And he also had, at the time, he had transit Neptune in the sixth house, and that could be weakening some kind of disease that might be affecting your health. And Neptune can, Pisces especially, can be connected with incurable disease that can't be eradicated. Now, in this case, I guess it couldn't be eradicated. I don't know how lung cancer works in terms of, in some cases, if it can be destroyed, if they spot it earlier or not. That's something you would have to confirm on the internet. That I'm not don't have not really sure about. But another thing that I noticed at this time of his passing, he did also have transit Jupiter. Was not far from his natal north node in Pisces. Now, it wasn't conjunct by transit orbs, but it wasn't really that far away. And I don't think we can definitively say that, say, if a transiting planet is even like 5 or 6 degrees away from an natal astrological placement, that it doesn't necessarily feel some effect from it or vibration. Jupiter can have a connection with Cancer, and Pisces is weakness in general. And when the North Node is involved in a transit, it can be about, I'm sorry, it's a South Node. South Node he had, I'm making a mistake, I'm sorry. His South Node is in Pisces. But when you have a transit, getting close to a South Node, it may affect that energy of that planet that's transiting to its detriment, I would say, and having Jupiter transit Jupiter in Pisces not far from his natal south node in Pisces, perhaps it affected the Cancer more to its detriment, and it was more weakening and debilitating. Pisces is the sign associated with weakness. So I'm just trying to see, look at other transits and natal placements that he had that may have been tied into this at this time. And the thing about it is he got the ruler of the ruler of his sixth house. One of the rulers, Neptune, was in the 12th house, so he may have been hospitalized at the time of this illness. That I'm not really sure whether he died in his home or whether he was in a hospital. Another thing I'm noticing too is that the ruler, I mean, he has Capricorn on the cusp um, of his fourth house cusp of the end of life. And that's an indicator by itself. There can be more despondency in connection with the end of life. And that ruler, Saturn, um, is also, it's that Saturn in Gemini, which, of course, Saturn Gemini can be connected with chronic debilitations that could be Gemini related, which wouldn't exclude lung cancer. And another thing I noticed too, the ruler of his eighth house, he has Taurus on the cusp of the eighth house. He probably died actually very peacefully, but the ruler of that is Venus, and it falls in his 10th house, his natal chart. That could be an indicator of a death that garnered some notoriety, attention, and exposure. That ruler conjuncts Jupiter, and Jupiter can be, again, associated with Cancer, and that's an indicator that death could come, likely greater propensity of a death coming from Cancer. Now, another thing too, I noticed that his Sun in Leo is conjunct Mercury. Now, a lot of people have the Sun conjunct their Mercury, and they won't have issues with the lungs, but keep in mind that that Mercury is associated with the lungs, and the Sun is connected, could have connection with the physical body, and it can be connected with physical related issues. At this time too, I notice as well is that sadly that transit Mercury, had just recently become retrograde in Gemini. And Mercury, of course, is associated with the lungs. And also it's in the sign of Gemini, the transit, which Gemini is associated with the lungs as well. It looks like, from what I'm looking at, that the transit Mercury was not far, perhaps conjunct to his natal moon in Gemini. So it's not really that surprising that this is something that was going to go out publicly, that he passed due due to something that was lung related. And another thing too, looking at his chart, I mean, he has Pluto in Leo in his natal chart, and right there, I mean, even though it's generational, sometimes that could suggest a death that's going to get some kind of notoriety or some kind of recognition or more attention. And the thing is, in its Pluto in his chart appears to conjunct his natal Sun, so it's not surprising that again that can be an indicator of a death that can gain that can get put be in the spotlight basically. So anyway, I'm just trying to see if there's anything else in his, as far as natal placements or anything through transits that might have been tied in to his passing. He did have transit Uranus in his 8th house of death at the time of his passing, and that right there, I mean, that could be an indicator of a death that comes very unpredictably, very maybe unexpectedly, and as well, looking at this. His chart ruler. Now he has Libra ascendant, and the ruler of that is Venus, and that conjuncts Jupiter. So That could be an indicator there that can be some issues with the physical body that can be on over a large scale and can be cancers because again Jupiter can be associated with cancer. Hold on a moment, people. Sorry about that, I'm back. But anyway, yeah, there's really not much more to really say about his chart in terms of transits or any natal placements as far as being tied in to his passing. I noticed that he does have transit Pluto is in the fourth house, and that could mean simply that the end of life there was going to perhaps be more trauma that was associated with maybe some kind of physical trauma, perhaps at this time, and also having the transit moon in the fourth house at the time of his passing, the end of life, that could gain, that could be more publicized because the moon is associated with the public. And so anyway, it's really not much more. I'm just looking just to see if there's anything else. Like um, it's pretty much it. And the thing is, again, I just offer my condolences to the close friends and family members of B.J. Thomas. He's a legendary singer. He sang that iconic hit, "Raindrops Keep Pouring," on my head, and it's just something where it's interesting. I'm looking at that, as I'm saying that, I notice in this chart he has Mars in Virgo conjunct the North Node Virgo. I'm thinking, what significance can that have to that song? Well, the thing about it is, in astrology, Mars is connected with the head, and Virgo is the sign of worrying, and he has the North Node conjunct it, which can be part of our destiny. And he did gain, some acclaim for that song, "Raindrops Keep Pouring on My Head," and he says nothing's worrying me in the song, and I just thought it was interesting. We say that, and nothing's worrying me, and Mars is uh, in Virgo. And another thing too is that he does have, Cancer, the zodiac sign Cancer, on the cusp of the 10th house in his um, natal chart. In Cancer, it can be, Cancer and Pisces, I would say we could have a connection with water. He has Jupiter conjunct his MC right there. That could be very fortuitous for the career by itself, and then having it in the zodiac sign Cancer. And he did sing that song, "Raindrops Keep Pouring um, on My Head." He also has Pisces on the cusp of the sixth house as well, and that's Pisces. Sixth house is the house of work, employment, and Pisces can have the connection with water, of course. And I noticed, again, going back to Jupiter. He also has Jupiter in Cancer conjunct his Venus, and Venus can be connected with the arts and singing as well. So that could be prosperity through a career in the arts. And the fact that it's in the, not just that's hitting Venus, but it's in the 10th house of career as well, that conjunction with Jupiter and Venus in Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer, of course, is also in its exaltation. That's in the best placement for Jupiter. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, people, Edwin Learnard.